Does size really matter?
Spiky Bits.
Welcome back, Hobby Maniacs. I'm Rob Bear from SpikyBits.com, and today we're going to take a closer look, or a first look, depending on who you ask, at the new JOYTOY action figures of Primary Space Marines. I think these are the Incursors that I ended up getting through some friends in Southeast Asia. I was able to secure these. You might remember we got the old Space Marine blind boxes back in the day as well, a little bit early when they first came out over there. So, thanks a lot to some of our U.S. military stationed overseas that have been able to help us out get things in the past. So going into this, currently, well, they were on made to order from Games Workshop. They are $100 for the set of 4 currently, but we know there's more in works. We don't know if they're going to be coming out in a made to order format or anything like that. The only way to get these is actually if you had ordered them a couple weeks ago from Games Workshop in the 1 week pre-order period, but I suspect it might have them up for general sale, or JOYTOY might be able to sell them to the States when they come out here in about 6 months or so when GW fulfills them. So right now, and I'm sure they'll be all over the secondary market as well, but the good thing about this video is at least you can take a look and kind of see, hey, are these worth my hobby dollars? This is something that I'm interested in, because they are a very different offering from both the Bandai action figures, the McFarlane action figures, and pretty much unlike anything we've seen before for Games Workshop in general. Now, first up, I want to hit you with this unboxing experience here, because this was actually really cool. The way they do everything. So it comes in its own little case pack of a box. Obviously, we know what it is at this point. And when you open it up, the box set of the 4 action figures, they actually have these little plastic corner protectors to keep the box from getting crushed. Now, mine traveled to me a bit further than I think most of you will have to travel to get to you regionally. So mine are a little beat up, and I'm not mad about it. It's, these are to review and to kind of mess around with and take out of the box and go pew 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 pew. But in that regard, I'm not mad about it. So once you get those little corner protectors all out of the way, you can actually get into the actual product itself, which comes in a really cool little case pack. It's a little dinged up, but that's okay, we're not worried about that. The scale's on there, officially licensed product, picture of the figures, and then on the back here they have an official JOYTOY hologram, this is my first experience with JOYTOY action figures. They look dope, and they have all sorts of stuff over on their site. You can get a lot of it in the States too. So I imagine at some point these are going to become a little bit more widely available in the States. If you don't want to pay a premium up front on the secondary market because you might not have got them on the made to order. So just, vote with the hobby dollars. If it's something you want, obviously you can get it, but I imagine they're going to spike in price right at first, but then they'll probably come back down and you'll be able to find them a little bit more reasonably. Now, going into the actual figures themselves, this is where it gets a little different. So they each have like their own little box, but the boxes are all the same. And I also thought it was really interesting that for an initial Asian market offering, that it's all in English. Like, it's literally all in English, except for, maybe just some stuff on the side here. No, it's literally all in English. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But all of the boxes are the same, except for the fact that it's the Incursors, right? Because there's an infiltrator box as well. But once you open these up, and of course I need to find the one I opened at. Once you get this open, then you can tell which one it is. And there's the checklist of all 4 of them right there, so you can kind of say, I might get one of these. So I guess if you see these out on display in the retail establishment, they might be in that retail vend box, and then you just like, well, I'll just get one of these, and then you don't know which one it is until you open it up. And speaking of opening it up, let's take a closer look at that. So there he is. So it's a very similar, and there's a card too. It's a very similar kind of experience to what you're going to get from like a Bandai figure, but a little bit different. Now this model appears to be Brother Varon, and he comes with this little, it's not exactly a stat card, maybe like an art card, which says something on the back here. I'm not exactly sure what that says, but maybe somebody can let us know in the comments. And then the figure itself comes with, in this, little plastic punch out kind of, I guess you could store your figures in this and keep them in the box and everything. But there's 13 interchangeable parts depending on how you look at it, because his fists actually pop off and are interchangeable depending on what weapon or what pose you kind of want this guy to have in that regard. Now, the GW site said there was 25 points of articulation on this model. I haven't exactly tried it out yet. So I'm going to pop them open, play with them a little bit, and then kind of figure out how I feel about all the interchangeability. And we'll probably definitely compare him to some other things that you might be a little bit more familiar with. So my first impressions are actually pretty good. Like I was generally impressed with the range of motion and all of the articulation and the customization you can do to this model. I mean, as far as the colors go, some are kind of muted, you know, like that gray and that red. The gold's pretty good. I mean, it's not super poppy, but like you can literally paint these guys. And I'll show you here in a second, because Warhammer actually got these already and already painted one and look fantastic. So not much you have to do to get some paint on these guys. I imagine they're just clear coated at this point. But that aside, let's talk about some of the customization here. So first off, you can obviously swap out the hands and things. And as far as the plastic goes, it's super easy. It's super pliable. Like, look at this. Like, it isn't really tough to deal with like the McFarlane figures and the Bandai figures. It was really hard to like kind of pop the joints and things off. It was really semi-frustrating, to be quite honest. But you can do like, watch. Let's get this little, maybe this isn't the right hand for this. I'll have to go get the right hand for this. But let's see, is it? Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's this one. Let's try it out. So this looks like the rifle hand, but we'll have it holding. You can probably hear it. I'm working it. But even the little fingers can articulate almost, which is really incredible if you start thinking about it. And then, like I said, working with the joints, pretty easy. You just pop them in, pop them out. You can pull all of the, of course I don't have the right angle on this. You can pull all of the arms and things out of their sockets. That was actually pretty easy. Like if you want to pull this arm out, you can. If you want to pull the head off, you can. Like you can super customize these guys. If they ever did like an accessory pack or something like that, you could totally kit these guys out and do like G.I. Joe action from the 80s when you would swap like the torsos and make your own guys and stuff. But the posing, I mean, everything pretty much holds for the most part, as long as you don't forcefully knock things off like I just did there. But like this is the pose I think in the book where he's like kind of around the heart, or he's kind of like holding up his gun. You ever just point your gun up in the air like point blank style? Alright. So all of that moves, all of that looks pretty good. And you can have him doing pretty much all sorts of things. He stands up on his own. There are pegs on the bottom, so if you have little figure accessory stands, I guess that would be super helpful. But it's, articulation wise, like, I mean, there's a lot of range of movement here. He's got a huge wingspan that you can mess with for sure. I don't think I have this on all the way because I can't. I'm so far away from the camera, I can't get a lot of force on this, unfortunately, so it might keep falling off because I'm a dummy. Let's just take that off. So there you've got that. And then you've got the joints come all the way down. Like he can pretty much push his leg all the way down, all the way back like this. Do some crazy yoga right there. And then you've got the twisting at the waist, and it's a joint at the chest even. And you don't hear any noise. Like these hold, they're pretty sturdy. Even the little thrusters back here, or whatever these are, exhausts I guess, on the Space Marine Atomic Ghostbuster backpack. This turns, these things pop off. They stay on here pretty well, so you can customize this. You can have the empty holster, you can have the pistol if you need it, and the combat knives go over here on this one. But I mean, just the ability to customize everything is really cool. And I think once the extra intercessors and some of the chaos stuff that they've been teasing from JOYTOY comes out, this will be really fun to mess with for sure. And even the little shoulder pads here flip up and things like that. So definitely cool, definitely customizable. It's you know, at first I was like, okay, cool, this is about the size of, you know, like a $8, $9 action figure from Walmart. And I was like, yeah, but you know, it's licensed and I get it. But then when I started thinking about it, I mean, all of this articulation and all these joints and the ability to kind of do any pose you want, I feel like was pretty neat as far as that goes. Like this, Like you want to have them holding the bolter, you can do that. You can set that up like we had, and it's pretty easy to kind of switch between them if you really want to, and just kind of sit there and strike a pose with your Space Marine action figures. Like I was saying, over at Warhammer, he already got a set of these, already painted them up, as you can tell. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel and paint on this. I imagine it's very easy to do. They seem like they're already matte coated, so I would just maybe pop off a part, hit it with a spray primer, or hit it with the airbrush and see if it sticks. And if it sticks, you're probably good to go. And just make sure you matte coat it in between sessions, just so nothing kind of pops off. The material feels pretty good, like it'll hold paint and it won't like scratch off or anything like that. I feel like the McFarlane figures are very much the same too, but I would definitely primer those first. But I think you can probably just paint over these. But you can always hit up Warhammer, check out his site as well, and maybe ask him how he did all this. But they're gorgeous, so you can definitely customize the crap out of these things, or just tighten up things like the shoulder pads or the gold or the details if you don't like the kind of little bit of muted tones to some of the paint colors on these. Now here we can kind of see the scale between the different figure offerings out there. Remember, the Bandai figure is about the same size as the McFarlane figures. I sold mine because it was going for like $300 on eBay, and I'm like, I'm not keeping that for a $200 profit for sure. So out the door it went. Now I assume it's about a 7-inch figure. Yep. So those are about a 7-inch figure, the McFarlane and the Bandai's. This particular figure, they say it's 1/18 scale, which I guess technically was supposed to be 4 inches, but they're actually 4.75 inches. I mean, it's not a deal breaker for me. I guess that's like the new norm with the way they make everything, because it looks about the size of a current action figure, I guess, in the store, like I was saying. So I'm not really butthurt about it, but here you can see how it sizes up to an actual in-game figure. But it'd be cool to play like a game of Kill Team or something with these, and of course with the modularity of it, you could just definitely pop them out and put them back together and do all sorts of like crazy shit with them as far as that goes. But so I mean, size, you know, like, hey, which one do you prefer? I feel like these are going to be way more customizable and modular. Yeah, obviously can't do too much with these pops. It looks like mine has fallen a few times. Curse you, cats. And speaking of cats, those little ends that come on the box if you buy the whole case in the shipping container, they are kitty cat crack. I literally cannot keep my cats away from them. I have a little stack of them right here, and I throw them out every now and then, and they lose the little kitty cat shit and chase after them. I love it. I love it when I get an inexpensive free toy for them, and I spend 20 bucks on some motorized piece of crap, and they just kind of like sit there, and they're like, really, that's it? That's all you got, human? Okay, cool. So you know, size wise, it's really up to you. This is $20. This is $25, but you got to buy 4 of them. That might change in the future. You can snag these off Amazon, Walmart, GameStop, pretty much anywhere. I think you can get them at your local game store too. G-Dub sells them for a while, but I don't think it's a regular stock item or anything like that. Now we're gonna kick it back old school. I keep talking about action figures and, you know, stuff from back in the day and things. I've got a few right here. So let's take a look. You might remember this little ditty from back in the day. The original Master of the Universe, Mr. He-Man's. He's seen some better days. He's got some loose joints, but that's okay. We won't hold him against him because he's going on 40 years old. He's a big boy, and you can kind of see how he sizes up between both of them right there. Then we've got one that's a little bit more recent, I suppose. This is more from the mid '80s era. This is my buddy Ed. He's from a famous movie. You might be able to name it. And this was a cool little figure. Obviously, he's seen some better days. Plastic's got a little weathering on it, but they used to have these ancient relics that were little gunpowder strips called caps, and you could put caps in here, and you would flip this, and it would go pow, pow, and it would make smoke, and it'd be cool, like he was actually shooting, and it was neat. And that was all we had, y'all. That was all we had. Right about the same time, we've got a Battle Android Trooper, or BAT. This is they invented these so that stuff could actually die in the G.I. Joe cartoon, and you know, people wouldn't die. But you can kill robots, and robots dying is fine. So they came out with these battle android troopers, and they were really cool. Collected a bunch of these when I was younger, and you know, I could switch out the hand weapons and things. But this is more of a traditional G.I. Joe that you could switch out the parts with a little rubber band at the bottom and kind of make your own figures if you really wanted to. And then that was a leap, man, that was a quantum leap above the first G.I. Joe figures. Well, I don't even want to say first, because there was much larger ones in the 70s that were all plastic, but these were the first, I guess, 4-inch scale figures. This is Mortar Man. He's got some loose joints. He's not mint. He's not PSA mint or anything like that. But yeah, he's pretty realistic. You know, came with this really cool little prop here. You know, he bent at the arms. He had about 2, 3, 4 points of articulation on this bad boy right here. Extra piece. You know, you could customize him with his own backpack and helmet. That's right, for a mere, I don't even know what these cost, $3 or $4 maybe back in 80s money, which is probably like $1 million now, I suppose. But it seems like that might not have actually been that bad of a deal back then. And then we've got something that's a little from a decade, a little bit more out of the way. You might remember this guy. It's definitely a good example of the articulation and the posing and the accessories we used to have way back in the day. This vinyl cape, oh my gosh, look at this minty vinyl cape with a customized. You could put it on, you could take it off. Then you got this flip out lightsaber. Oh man, let me tell you what, you could get some crazy lightsaber battles going with this guy if you had an Obi-Wan or a Luke or something like that. And I mean, look at this customization. You can set them up, do all sorts of posing. Man, there it is. Man, you're ready to go to town. You're customized. You're ready to battle with this guy. Let me tell you what, this was the Dark Lord of the Sith, and he was the boogeyman back in the day. And I still have this one too, a little bit smaller, but obviously you know the character. It's seen some better days. Got some yellowing, but I think you know, don't we all? If we hit 40, we might have a little yellowing on us too, I suppose. But still got it. There it is, one of the original Kenner. 2 of the original Kenner Star Wars figures from the early bird set, way back in the day. So here's the whole squad together and posed up for maximum tactical operations, I suppose. I mean, overall, they, for the most part, are they're very the same in all their poses and all their options. Like, you get all pretty much the same thing. It's just some different heads and some different options on like the torso. So while I do think it's really neat and they're modular and you can do lots of cool things and pose them any way you want, this particular set, I mean, besides doing, you know, a couple of different poses here and stuff, there really isn't much else kind of differentiating them. So I think once they get more on the market, it'll be a little bit funner, you know, as far as like, oh cool, I can do all this stuff and pose them and have an intercessor here, or, you know, like maybe a chaos dude here or something like that. But I don't know, like I can see where they're going to be collector's items, but I can also see where they're kind of all just a little bit the same once I put them together. But that being said, they're still pretty dope. There was a little bit of a painting issue. Let me see if I can get this into the camera a little bit. I'm still getting used to this new camera view we got here, which is pretty neat, and I like it. There you can kind of see there's a little bit of a print defect or paint defect. But overall, between all 4 of them, there really wasn't any other issues, and they're super easy to kind of put together and make modular and have a lot of fun with it. So, you know, I think overall, if collectibles and action figures is your thing, and you didn't mind buying the McFarlane figures, and you want something a little bit more customizable and maybe a little bit more challenging and easier to kind of work on, these might be for you. And, you know, I can see where they're not going to be for some people. But I can also see where a lot of people think these might be the dopest thing ever, especially if you can kind of make your own poses and do different things with them, which I think is going to be the case for sure once they get a full head of steam and start putting out a little bit more product there. So that is basically all I have to say. Probably took way too long to do it once again, but, you know, always don't forget you can put the playback at 1.5 speed and you can still understand me pretty well, which is shocking. because that's how I sound to myself in my brain. But anyways, thank you so much for watching this unbox and kind of review slash my thoughts on these new products. I'm sure at some point in the next 6 months or so, they will be widely available to everybody, and you'll be able to pick these up, whether it's a secondary market or whether it's from an actual source or store or something like that. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot more coming out. If the Bandai and the McFarlane figures were any indication, we're going to see a lot more of these things as well. So do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you can be the very first to like and comment on all our future videos. If you liked that video feature, consider supporting us over at patreon.com and get back in the mail each month a miniature crate full of some of the stuff we review here, as well as some of the top 3D artist designs out there too, to help support what they're doing. Plus discount coupon codes from some of those same manufacturers. They're yours to keep, whether you cancel or stay on. It's totally up to you. Obviously, we want to keep you as happy as possible. So check it out over at patreon.com/SpikeyBits.